And it's the left-hand mouse, the left button?
Yeah, we'll do that one right.
Okay, all right. All righty. Well, now that I figured out the clicky thingy. Good morning, everyone. Excuse my voice, if you will. Excuse the fact that I shook absolutely nobody's hand this morning. It's been my good fortune to come down with a cold, so we'll just muddle through. I told somebody, actually it was probably Commission Chair Joe Bryan, let's pretend I yelled too much at the TV during the All-Star game. Good to see so many of you here this morning. Saw several of you last year when we went over some of these things. I do want to thank sincerely the Chamber of Commerce for putting together today's event. Also our town staff, if you would stand up just quickly or raise your hand so we can recognize them. Data collection and sort of checking my figures, which is not to say if there's a big mistake in here, I'm going to blame them. I just do want to thank them for their assistance. Also, we have some other elected officials that are here this morning. Our council member, Steve Rao. Council member, Mark Stolman. And Mayor Pro Tem Liz Johnson. And this member Steve Deal, the photographer. All right, so some of these slides I'm just going to fly through so that, you know, everybody won't need a second cup of coffee. If you have any questions at all, email me or I'll hang around for a little bit afterwards to sort of talk through some of the things we went over quickly. So, state of our demographics, we're the third youngest municipality in Wake County. Our largest minority group, no surprises here, about 27% of us are of Asian descent. Medium income for workers in Morrisville, highest in Wake County. Household family income, second only to Cary. We have the highest level of college graduates in Wake County. The highest, not the second highest to Cary, but the highest. Cary is second, but about 5 points, so they have some work to do. We are the second highest in the Triangle region, just behind Chapel Hill. All right, the state of growth, our population, there were 250 of us in 1980. 250 of us. Chamber of Commerce met in, I think maybe the old building on Page Street.
Chamber of Commerce didn't start till 1990.
Okay, so there were so few folks and businesses, we didn't even have a Chamber of Commerce. Now there are about 21,700 of us. That makes us 7th out of 12. 7th out of 12 Wake municipalities, which means we're smaller than most. No surprise, we're a small town. So, interestingly enough though, our tax base is the 5th largest. We're the 7th smallest, but we have the 5th largest tax base. Gee, what does this mean? Well, NerdWallet just recognized Morrisville as the best town in North Carolina to raise a family. So one might say, gee, are they the best place to raise a family in North Carolina because they're growing? Are they growing because they're the best place to raise a family in North Carolina? And I don't know. Probably some of each, but you all have heard me say this before. It's good to be Morrisville. We're doing something right. Opening doors. Over the last 12 months, we've had 20 events. So in addition to bringing more folks to Morrisville, we've seen an increase in new and expanded businesses. About 50% more ribbon cuttings than the previous 12-month period. About 50% more. There are a few of the notables, Stone Theaters, Park West 14, Perimeter Studio and Conference Center, Aeroprime, and one of my favorites, Chocolate Boutique. If you haven't been there, you want to stop by. Don't eat dinner. Building permits, new construction permits are up about 8%. About 8% up over the previous 12-month period. Value of those permits is up about 17% over the previous 12 months. So you can see the 2008 numbers. I don't know how many of you know Prince, but it's not time to party like it's 2008. But things are looking up, and here we go again. It's always good to be Morrisville. Our tax base. Tax base at this time is about 60% residential and about 40% commercial. As I said before, we have the 5th highest tax base at $3.6 billion. Our new tax rate is 39 cents per $100 of valuation. We're tied for the 4th lowest in the county, but wait, there's more, and we'll get to that. If everyone pays their taxes as billed, that'll account for a little more than half of our annual budget, a little more than half. All right, here we go, the state of frugality. For every penny of our tax rate, we collect $352,000. Median priced home in Morrisville is around $271,500. If you apply that 39-cent rate I just gave you to that median priced home, tax bill in Morrisville will be about $1,059. We charge you $10 for every car you have in Morrisville. So if you have 2 cars, you will be charged $20. We apply the 39-cent tax rate to a car. We took a wild guess at $15,000 per car. Your tax bill for your car is $117, and we charge you $23 now for a stormwater fee if you live in a single-family home. So what does that mean for Morrisville? Oh no, we are last out of the whole county. Morrisville is last. But actually, this is really good news, because this is how much it costs you to live in Morrisville if you live in that medium-priced home and have 2 $15,000 cars. That includes your water and sewer. Best deal in Wake County for a single-family home. Excuse me. All righty, state of our bond ratings. We got a cake, because we've been upgraded. Standard & Poor's now recognizes us as a AAA community. Moody's were up half a step from AA2 to AA1. We've got a growing tax base, we have strong finances, we have low debt, we have healthy reserves. We're in good shape, and it shows, and I'm not gonna say it's good to be Morrisville, we'll just assume that. All righty, the state of our finances. Well, apparently we're doing something right, or those folks in New York wouldn't have given us that upgrade. Our per capita expenditures, lower than everybody's but Nightdale, Garner, Rollsville, and Wendell. Now, there's some other things that play into that didn't make it into the slide, but what this shows you is we are very careful about how we spend money. Of course, when I talked about the tax base breakout with commercial and residential, that helps a little bit too. Those communities with more residential than commercial tax base are by default gonna have to spend more per person. Debt, fairly low, we're at 7%. Our policy level maximum is 15%. 2004 bonds are finally sold. Golly gee, that was quite some time ago. The town council did have to approve 2 different extensions since this was passed, but by golly, we did it. Those bonds have been sold, the papers have been signed, we are on the way. And the good news is, because we have such a great bond rating, our interest rate is about 2.5%. We're borrowing money at 2.5%. So, pretty good, pretty good. State of our FY14 balanced budget. The town council identified 4 core priorities: transportation, sense of place, maintaining our small town atmosphere, and maintaining a quality staff. Those are the 4 priorities that the town council set back in January. Staff went off and actually did a great job bringing us a budget. It was passed in late June on a vote to 6-1. There's some significant changes between this year's budget and last year's. It's gone up almost 9%, which is a healthy jump. That's a big jump. Prior year, from FY12 to FY13, actually went up 11%. So the question is, what are you getting for that 9% increase? You know, what is it you're gonna see as a result of that 9% increase? Well, the biggest one is gonna be the NC 54 bypass. The design is $1.2 million. That's the biggest chunk of it right there. The others you can see listed. In order to do this though, we did raise your property taxes. If you live in Morrisville, if you own a business in Morrisville, we did raise your property taxes. We went from 36.65 cents to 39 cents. 2 cents of that is toward the NC 54 bypass project. The other third of a penny is going toward road improvements. On that median priced home we talked about early, you will pay an extra $64 a year. and those $15,000 cars that you own, $3.50. Not a bad deal. State of our savings account. We did have to agree to an appropriation from our savings account in order to balance the budget that was just passed. Town council agreed that about $840,000 could be appropriated if needed. Prior year, the budget appropriated $800,000, about the same amount. We're still looking at year-end numbers, but it looks like we will use none of that $800,000 from the budget year that ended June 30th. Staff has told us to expect a budget execution of about 95 to 97%. If all goes well, we also won't have to dip into the fund balance for $840,000. But if we do, here's the trend of our savings account. Here's the trend. All right, state of our roads. You guys don't care about this one. All right, road paving. We have set a priority to do something about the state of our roads. Here's a list of the ones we've taken on for the previous fiscal year. This year we will put into place what you've heard to refer to as the MSD, Municipal Service District, by polling some of the communities who have private streets. They will pay an extra fee this year to have, and for the next 10 years actually, to have the town take over their streets and bring them up to town standards. So we're working on it. We're working on it. General obligation bonds, I already said that it's not 2004, it's 2013. The bonds have been executed, paperwork's been signed. We will be awarding the contract next month for what we're referring to as the RTP part. There's a better name out there. It's just not quite the right time to talk about that. But when we hear talk of the RTP part, the cricket part, this is what we're talking about, what voters authorized back in 2004. We got there. Took us a little while, but we got there. All right, the current bond projects, we talked about this 2-cent increase. 80% of our voters said, you know, please do something about the traffic on NC 54. They approved this NC 54 bypass concept. That design will take place in the coming 12 months. Park bonds were approved by 74% of voters. We're still talking about the timing on this one. Right now, the design is set for FY16. Council's gonna have a work session to talk about whether or not escalating that project makes financial sense. I don't know the answer to that yet. State of our parks and greenways, Crabtree Creek Greenway is gonna be a huge project. We have selected the design firm for that project. It's a regionally important project, one that's gonna connect Raleigh, Cary, Morrisville, and RTP when it's completed. Raleigh, Cary, Morrisville, and RTP. This is partially funded by something called CMAQ funds. In government, nobody loves anything better than an acronym, whether it makes sense or not. Congestion mitigation and air quality funds with a small town match. And by small, I mean percent-wise, not dollar-wise. State of transportation. Here we go. All right, the big one in Morrisville is going to be the Morrisville Parkway grade separation. Morrisville Parkway grade separation. The road that runs by one of the entrances to Park West, fairly heavily traveled road. For those of you who don't know, there will be a railroad bridge over the roadway, and it's going to require patience. It's going to require patience while that project is in process. Let date is October 1st. You can expect to see work on that project by the end of this year. By the end of this year. It's going to take about 3 years. It's not going to be closed during that whole time. It will be closed the least amount of time that it can be closed in order to get the project completed. But go ahead and plan now for being inconvenienced. It's going to be great once it's done, but it's going to be inconvenient while it's in process. So plan on being patient, put snacks in your car, turn on the radio, make sure you have a full tank of gas. It's going to take you a while. This LAP funding, for the first time, the town council has appropriated specific funds for Campo project match. In order to access some of the funds that are available through Campo, we have specifically set aside a pool of funds to access those. Central location, I'll let you decide what you think about that. Blue Ribbon Commission on Transportation Funding. We've been talking about this one for a long time. Town Council is set to vote on creation of this group next month. Staff will advertise, council will appoint members. The group, the committee will begin work late 2013, early 2014, start talking about what we can do for transportation funding. NC 54 corridor study, it's actually supposed to be done by the end of the year. We've been hearing about this one for a while as well. State of our development plans, and I don't know why I'm clicking at the screen when the computer's over there, someone could have told me. State of our development plans, council, staff, Chamber of Commerce, and the Developers Council have all worked very, very hard in putting together a unified development ordinance. It is due to be adopted toward the end of the year. State of our town center, another one of those ones that people say, are you doing anything, or do you just like to talk about it? We like to talk about it. We'd also like to see a little more activity, but we're getting there. We're taking some small, steady steps. We've had the market analysis done. We've talked a lot about public-private partnerships. Several of us took a tour last year of some other town centers in North Carolina to see what could be done, what might be done. It was encouraging. We did include some money in the current fiscal year's budget for site control. So Joe, while you're here, we would love to have a library in our town center. It would make all the difference. I know we're still on the master plan. Hint, hint, wink, wink. State of economic development, it's picking up, especially office space, And it's nice that we're gonna have a Fortune 50 company in Morrisville. All right, the state of our community. We are celebrating 2013 as our year of community. And what we hope this will do, what we're working toward doing, is increasing involvement in our Heart of the Triangle community. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. State of transparency. Always a work in progress. We were good at it. We are getting better. More and more social media, much faster turnaround time on meeting minutes so the public will have access to those quicker. Better access to public records. We're working on it. It's always a work in progress to increase transparency. State of technology, working on that one as well. There are major software upgrades on the horizon. This should improve efficiency townwide. We're going to spend some money on it. We couldn't get it for free, but it's going to make a difference for the town. State of our staff, you would think they never do any work, guys. So it turns out we have a guitar player, picnickers, but this is the most hard-working staff in Wake County. I kid you not. The ones who are here are probably itching to get back to their regular jobs and wish I would talk a little faster because they have a long list of things that they're supposed to be doing right now. We did add 2 new positions. That's it. We'll increase our staff by 2 people in the coming year. One of those is administrative support for planning and engineering. The other one is a police department staff person who will work on accreditation, but also a crime analyst. Town manager search, did you guys know we were doing this? Yeah. We're working on it. New target date for hire is early October. State of accomplishment, everybody got coffee, this is gonna take a while. Turns out we're the best town in North Carolina to raise a family. Have I mentioned that one? 3rd year in a row, we've received Anthemian Awards for historic preservation. We've gotten our 2nd historic landmark for the Christian church. 3rd one is on the horizon. Staff gets award after award after award. There's a long list. Another thing I may have mentioned, stop me if you've already heard this, we saved a ton of money on bond financing. It's not Geico, but it's back to the AAA bond rating that I'm very proud of. All of our Morrisville Police Department officers have completed crisis incident training, CIT. You've heard this. Why don't the officers have this training? Ours do. Ours do. They're prepared. Chief Wright is now Chief Fire Officer Wright, another accomplishment. So if you guys have another hour, we can keep doing this, or we can move on. All right, state of our community. This one's pretty long, so if you'll bear with me, this one is gonna get read, and I'll claim it has to do with the cold. We've had our share of challenges, but thanks to a dedicated staff, committed residents, generous business owners, members of our faith-based congregations, sense of community here in Morrisville continues to grow. Last December, we bid goodbye to our town manager, John Whitson, and welcomed Tony Chiatakis as our interim COO. We have, during this time, emphasized preservation of our Morrisville history. Those efforts are clearly visible around town. All you need to do is drive around and take a look. We saved and relocated a historic tobacco barn, are nearing completion of the exterior renovations of the Pew House across Morrisville Carpenter Road. We witnessed the unveiling of historic markers at our Christian church by those who once worshiped there. Volunteer advisory committees, we have a couple members here today. Insert organization, dedicate countless hours to everything from litter cleanup to senior citizen leisure activities, budget review, traffic calming, environmental stewardship, park maintenance, cultural event assistance. It goes on and on and on. We have some of the best volunteers ever. Police and fire departments, we've mentioned them before, but it's worth repeating. They have selflessly responded to more than a few incredibly difficult situations over the last 12 months. But they continue community outreach and education year-round. Community Garden Partnership is thriving. Privately funded philanthropic Morrisville Community Fund held their first major fundraiser in February. And they'll be awarding their next round of grants, Liz?
The end of the summer.
The end of the summer, end of this summer. So, we've also begun raising funds for extras that will one day be a part of our town center Wake County Library. Recently celebrated the addition of sidewalks near Barbie Road, slowly but surely expanding community events. This year provided support to the Chamber of Commerce Innovation Foundation as they held the first inaugural East Meets West Festival. Citizens have launched Preservation Morrisville to raise funds for awareness and restoration of the interior of the Pew House. For the first time, Morrisville's many and diverse faith groups came together to recognize a positive role all of them could play in public service. Cooperative effort was born of the grief shared at December's Newtown Vigil, and it certainly add to the richness. That's our heart of the triangle. So for all of those things I just mentioned and all the lovely pictures you saw, yeah, it's going to be more so. All right, so we'll wrap up with the state of things to come, so that Joe Bryan can talk about the Wake County Public Library in Morrisville. How do you like that? What a segue. Look at him shifting his notes. I gotta make a short list. As a town, we have enjoyed the growth that's come our way, and we have seen the benefits of it. Over the past 12 months, we have gotten to work on transportation improvements, trying to establish the right balance of caution and community investment. We're dedicated to quality service provision. Dedicated quality service provision. We paid extra attention to our public safety departments. We're working on expanding both our parks and greenways. We're still working on fine-tuning our financial philosophy. We're still working on it, but we'll get there. And the big one this year has been community inclusiveness. What can we expect in the days to come? Wake County Public Library in the Morrisville Town Center. And if not, for certain we have Wake Tech on the way. Those over-the-top days of high growth back in 2008, those are behind us. We're done, we've got a new normal. So now it's time. It's time for us to talk about a maturing community and our plans for the rest of Morrisville's story. It's creation of a vibrant and welcoming town center that we've worked on for years. The options that are needed for transportation improvements and funding, establishment of a transit-oriented development, and ultimately, how are we going to manage the town at build-out and with redevelopment in a landlocked community? This is all we get. We need to make sure we're thoughtful and deliberate about planning for that future. And of course, you know, the very, very, very best news is we have an engaged and strong sense of community in Morrisville. We're starting with an amazing amount of goodwill, so we'll get there. I'm privileged to be part of the discussion this morning, and thank you all very much.